Hi, this is Erik Burnham. You might recognize me from such comic books I've written as IDW's Ghostbusters or Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. With titles like that, it comes as no surprise that I'm a huge fan of the 1980s. That's why I'm here to tell you, your childhood was trash if you didn't watch Indiana Jones.
Holy, look! Crash landing!
The whole funny thing with this is I came around to the franchise in the most backwards way. I grew up not near an indoor theater, but I did have a drive-in theater and went to see a bunch of movies there. But the first movie I saw at an indoor cinema, a normal movie theater, was Last Crusade in 1989. And then afterwards, my family moved around, and one of the VHS tapes we had and because it was one of the few, it got watched into the ground, was Temple of Doom. And I didn't actually see Raiders of the Lost Ark until several years into the 90s.
Oh, jeez.
Wow.
So I went completely backwards order there.
I mean, that's fine. I think that's kind of how a lot of that stuff goes. Like my first Star Wars was Return of the Jedi.
Sure.
And then, you go back, you see New Hope, and then you grow up and you watch Empire, and you're like, oh, this is way better.
My impressions of the franchise were completely from watching Last Crusade and not getting any of the callback jokes because I hadn't seen Raiders yet.
Oh,
so
geez.
that was a fun way to go. But no, it's it's everything that I like in a piece of entertainment, and everything that I like to work on when I'm working. It's comedy, it's adventure, it is deep reference stuff. I love it so much. It's just so much fun. It's historical, yeah.
Historical,
Fantasy, sci-fi, all of it, yeah.
I think I probably have more historical knowledge from the Indiana Jones movies, or just movies in general, than I did actually pick up in high school. High school history was boring. Boring was the word. That's the word I was looking for.
It's it's entertainment has provided more education than is given credit for. The movies, or my brother was always surprised at how much he learned from the epic rap battles of history.
Oh, geez. Oh, yeah.
Right?
He goes, I thought this was just funny. I looked it up and it's true. So
all of it's true.
It's all true. Oh my gosh.
I think it's all delivery method, right? Because like my dad used to give me crap all the time when I was a kid. He's like, you can remember the name of every single Transformer there ever was, but you can't remember like your history homework. Like when I was,
you
like
just
10.
You just got to find the way to connect it, and it'll seep through 100% every single time.
No, that's actually one of my favorite lines of the movie Road Trip, where the super smart guy, what's his, Paul Constantino or something like that? I don't remember his last name.
But he's like Costanza?
Yeah, thank you. I knew it was like, I was close, but I was like just hair enough off. But he's like, I can teach anything to a bunch of monkeys as long as I can relate the material. So he starts teaching what Breckenmeyer all of history based off of wrestling.
Yeah, there you go.
Right?
It's true.
It is 100% true. It's, you can get people to understand it and start to follow you as long as you can relate it to something they understand.
Oh yeah, passion will hook up the brain and get the neurons firing and engage the memory every single time.
It's true.
Mm-hmm.
It's true.
And that's what Indy did, and he did it with not only that, the blend that you said, but it's really good adventure movies. Like you know, there's some movies that try and do it all, or even try and do that, but they fall flat. But like from start to finish, most of those movies are really good adventure movies.
Well, and it was the adventure, the bar that Spielberg was going for was they wouldn't let me direct James Bond. I'm going to show them. I'm going to outdo James Bond with the globe trotting and the adventure and the the humor and the whole nine. Yeah. And then put James Bond in it. Yes. When I finally have a chance to put the real James Bond in.
I'll get my own James Bond.
Yeah, is that how it came about?
Spielberg wanted to direct James Bond, and as I recall reading the story, George Lucas says, "No, I've got something better for you." and they cooked up Indiana Jones from there. Yeah.
Interesting.
That's pretty.
I mean,
that's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
I personally say it's a good call because I've never been a real fan of James Bond in general. And like you said, I mean, it took a couple movies, but they got James Bond in the franchise. So
they did, and I mean, and I was, I mean, the Connery Bond movies were ones that I was exposed to early. So I mean, I definitely got the vibe, and I loved those as well. So I mean, it just it was an easy segue for me to get into Indiana Jones, and I mean,
sure.
I like all of the movies at this point. I don't like all of the movies, but I do like all of the movies. I was just like Crystal Skull. 75% of that was great.
Yeah, but what I don't get is people hated that movie because of aliens. Like that was the whole thing. Is like, oh my god, it's aliens, and people are so mad. But then you have like the whole Kali Ma stuff, and even the Dial of Destiny. They're time traveling, and people are okay with that. Like that threw me off.
The thing I remember reading was Lucas's idea was the first 3 Indiana Jones movies were straight 30s pulp. Excuse me. Crystal Skull was set in the 50s, so he was going for 1950s pulp. What's 1950 pulp? Well, you're fighting communists, and there are aliens.
Okay.
And that's what he gave. Communists and aliens, and for the most part, it worked. There was some of the big final, the climax with the aliens that I didn't like, and I didn't like a couple of scenes. The swinging with the monkeys. I wasn't a big fan of, but I enjoyed so much of the rest of that, and loved Kate Blanchett in it. She was a great villain. So I mean, I'm real easy to please with the Indiana Jones stuff. I really enjoyed the last one as well.
Yeah.
Although I could nitpick and say I don't agree with with Indiana Jones saying, okay, I'm going to give up and stay in the past. That just didn't ring true. But everything else made me so happy that I just kind of let it slide.
Yeah.
I haven't actually seen Dial of Destiny.
Whoops.
So you're
sorry about that.
Listen,
it's okay.
It's been over a year.
Yeah.
It's Nick's fault at this point.
And,
yeah.
Look, we started watching with the kid, but we got sidetracked. So we watched Raiders of the Lost Ark with my 10-year-old at the time. 11, I don't know. It was a time ago. And he like had a hard time following along because, he's 10 and he's trying to understand history. So, he's not like in that mindset yet, but he enjoyed it for what he understood and got. And like, we walked him through it and stuff. But the reality is like, sure, like Mike said, it's a year old. It's fine. What's going to happen? And so he pulled a Steve Rogers and stays back in time and doesn't come and doesn't,
well, that's what he wants to do. Yeah. And it just, I mean, I didn't quite, I mean, they all the stuff they set up for it. I didn't quite buy it. Everything else I bought in the story, but that's the thing that I didn't quite buy. The breaking history by staying in the past just didn't seem right for Indy.
Yeah.
But the rest of it, I absolutely love the ending because they did bring Marion back, and that made me happy to see. So my only big regret is that they're not going to do anything else outside of the upcoming video game, as far as I've heard, with the character, not novels or comics or anything. Which bums me out because I mean I want to write some indie comics, man. That's
look, you're doing great at what you're doing right now. So I mean, I would.
Nice, yeah. But I was bummed out before the podcast. I wanted to go back and rewatch everything, and I kept getting sidetracked. I was like, okay, no, a deadline got moved up. I got to see the deadline. And then like yesterday, I'm like, okay, I've got all day. I'm going to sit down and watch some. And there's a storm outside, and I'm going to turn off all the power on everything. It was the luck was not with me, but yes, it happens. It happens. I'll have to rely on memory more than I would like.
No, that's perfectly fine. We enjoy that. That's the nostalgia right there. The memory, the clicks, all that stuff is where we thrive.
Yeah. Well, it's I like there to be, not just, random odd bobbles as they pop into my head. Oh, by the way, and then, it's just for the continuity of it. It makes it feel smooth. You don't have to do as much editing that way. But, anyway.
True. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
It's okay. I mean,
we're fine with it.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah, we're fine with it. And I was thinking about it as you guys were talking about your first time. My first introduction to Indiana Jones was my grandparents giving me the 3 VHS box set for Christmas one year.
Mm-hmm.
I had my mom. I was like, "What are these?" And my grandma and grandpa were like, "Oh, they're fun movies," And whenever the last one, what was it like? So I must have been somewhere the 8-year-old range. So I'm busting out. Like, I think I did the same thing as you, though. I'm pretty sure I did Last Crusade first because of Sean Connery. I was like, I know him, and then I was like, wait, and then my grandfather was like, you need to watch this one first, and then I watched the rest of them, and I was like, I'm not sure I'm old enough for these. I enjoyed them because I was like, that dude just stuck his hand through that dude's chest and pulled out his heart, and my mom is over there squirming because there's snakes coming out of a belly.
Kalima, man, Kalima.
That's it
every time.
It was my man.
Yeah, it's I like the backstory in that one too. I was just like they're just both in bad moods. Lucas and Spielberg, they're going through divorces, and so they just make this super dark movie. And I went and saw a few years ago. They put all the indie movies back in the theaters, and I missed Raiders, which I've still never seen on the big screen. But I did get a chance to go and see Temple of Doom, and I'm watching it, and I'm sitting there, my head's cocking to the side. And said, how did I never notice Dan Aykroyd was in this movie before? It's clear as day, and I never noticed it. Out of all the years I watched that movie, I never caught his voice.
I mean, he's been busting ghosts forever.
He worked his way over to China apparently, and it was a weird thing that just kind of. Dan, what are you doing here?
That happens every once in a while. Like, I'll go back and I'll watch a movie and it's like, I don't have any recollection of you being in here.
You're right.
Like, I'm pretty sure it took way too long for me to realize, Data was Short Round.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because both movies when we were kids, it was like, there's a big enough age gap between the two, and when we're kids,
the childlike ignorance too, right? Where when you're a certain age, everything is independent from one another. It's not actors; it's the characters that you're watching.
Right.
That's why I watched Raiders with my brother one time, and he stopped. He looked at the screen and goes, "Is that Doc Ock?" Son of a gun, it is. Throw me the idol, I'll throw you the whip. I never even noticed it. It was just like I said, little things like that. I mean, it's fun to catch something new every time you watch a movie, even if it's something like that. I get a kick out of it. But
those cameos that aren't actually cameos, right?
Right, yeah, just paying the dues at the beginning of the career. Yeah.
Like a couple weeks ago, my wife and we binged the Jurassic Park series. It's those 3 movies, and she was like, "I didn't know Vince Vaughn was in this." I'm like, "Yes, you did. You just don't remember."
Yeah. Right post Swingers, yeah.
Yeah.
Swingers, so good.
Oh my goodness, yes, yeah. Oh my goodness, yeah. See, now I've got just a whole Favreau thing on the brain where he went from with Swingers to what he became as a director, and I'm like,
right?
He would have been good for an indie kind of movie.
He would have,
yeah.
And
he's,
you know what? Disney's pretty high on him right now, so I don't know. Maybe they give him the reins and be like,
I mean,
tell us what you would do with indie.
He had some fun in Star Wars. Move over to the other. It's just, let's see what you can do with Indiana Jones. That would be great. I mean, if you have to adapt the old Dark Horse story where Han Solo and Chewie crash on Earth, and years later there's Indiana Jones finding the ruins at the Han Solo's.
Oh man, that'd be amazing.
And Chewbacca is still alive and Bigfoot. I mean, it was. Hiding in the Pacific Northwest. It was, I love that story. It was just cheeky.
that sounds amazing. I didn't know that existed, but that is perfection. It sounds like very hardcore fan fiction.
Oh yeah,
but it sounds completely perfect.
Pure Lucasfilm fan service. Yes.
Yeah, that's a lot of the '90s stuff. It was basically actually published fan fiction.
That's fair.
Right? I mean, isn't that what Twilight became? Or the Twilight movies was just like 50 Shades of Grey.
Yeah, 50 Shades was the other way around. Yeah.
Okay,
yeah. So yeah, she had to scrub the vampires out of it. But I mean, if you can make it pay, God bless you.
Look, I want to know more, but I also don't want to know more right now.
That's as much as you need to know.
All right.
Well, Nick, if you take Twilight and watch it in reverse while listening to Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon, it lines up perfectly with 50 Shades of Grey.
No.
Don't put that in. Don't put that in his head. That's an evil thing to do, man. I don't know.
I don't want to look. I've seen Twilight way more times than I ever want to admit, and
I was cautiously optimistic for those movies, at least the first one, and I'm like, it's a vampire movie. Like, how bad could it be? It's a vampire love story. Okay, let's watch it. And the second he was like, you don't want to see me in the daylight. You won't like how I look. And I was like, oh, is it going to be grotesque? This is where it's going to get cool, right? And he sparkles, and I'm like, I'm out. I was done after that. I'm like, no.
Yeah, it was definitely an interesting choice to make.
Yeah.
Now I just want to see Indiana Jones fight vampires.
That would be pretty cool.
Indiana Jones Vampire Hunter.
There you go.
Sequel to Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Harrison Ford is still down for that. Anyway, sorry.
It's he finally said he's getting too old.
I'm getting too old for this shit.
Too old for the pratfalls, man. It's I did not know this entire time he viewed it as a straight comedy.
I mean,
he's not wrong, but I mean, it's not where I would have gone with it either. It's
interesting.
Yeah. So
he definitely had different views on life and things. Like, didn't you think like Star Wars was like the silliest, stupidest thing that you couldn't follow?
I mean, he thought the dialogue was bad. He did. He thought it was a little bit silly, but I mean, it is silly. That's part of the charm.
Yeah. I mean, it could be worse. It could have been Lucas's first draft before his ex-wife rewrote it.
Yeah. It did the editing and stuff. Absolutely. Yes. No. She put a lot of work into that one. I had and I don't know who put in some of the work on Indiana Jones, but I remember a long time ago, I was reading the transcript. The story meeting that they had for Raiders of the Lost Ark, just sitting around the table, throwing ideas around. There was some wild stuff coming out of that meeting.
Really?
I mean, it was just like, there was, Indiana Jones is getting it on with all the students. No, maybe that's a bad idea. Maybe we should pull that back. Yeah. I mean,
Professor Jones,
that's improper. It's unethical.
Probably could have.
They left whispers of that in the movie, but not he wasn't into it. It's the students. It was all the students.
Yeah, I mean, he gave him some side eyes for sure.
He gave him some side eyes, and then just suggesting that he and Marion had a way inappropriate early relationship with her being too young. Something I'm glad also didn't make it to the movie. You know what I mean? So. Just like I said, there was some weird ideas thrown out there, and I'm going to have to go back and reread that at some point to see what was
weird stuff?
good, what was something, if there was anything good that was left out, because there was a lot of good ideas too.
Yeah, because I mean, I'm sure you're probably well more aware of this than either Mike or I, but you're writing a whole bunch of stuff, and sometimes there's good stuff that just doesn't make sense. And sometimes you're like, all right, well, maybe I'll do something with that later, but not right now.
And sometimes it leads you to the right idea, the wrong idea, and sometimes it just it doesn't. You come up with it in just a tizzy, and you get to it and go, wait, maybe this isn't as smart as I thought it was. maybe maybe indie college student, younger teenager. Maybe that's a bad idea. Maybe we'll pull. It's I get it was like the 20s, but let's get that out of the way. We could just we'll introduce Karen Allen as Karen Allen. It is great. It's fine.
Yeah.
This
if we
is good.
could, we'll just pretend it wasn't there.
Yeah. It's it never happened as far as anybody knows, and then the internet comes out and ruins it for everybody.
Yeah,
Stupid internet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
We'll just leave in the undertones and
Yeah.
suggestions.
Exactly. No, I don't know. I loved. It's just my train of thought going. I loved Karen Allen as Mary, and she was so great. So it was kind of a bummer that she didn't show up for another, 20 years.
Well, I mean, there's like, I'm sure there was probably something along the lines of like she wasn't super into it, or there was something like scheduling conflicts or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows? Like it could be, or
it's Bond girl. Got to have the new.
Oh yeah, true.
Got to switch it out every movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, to just give the whole thing, make it feel like a chapter instead of a sequel. I guess I don't know, but yeah, I would have liked to have seen more of her. So I mean that was another reason why I connected with Crystal Skull, because she was a major character again. I really appreciated that.
Right. So, I always love it when there's a hiatus of time and then people come back and you're like, I'm glad you came back.
Yeah,
I like this.
It fits. It worked. It didn't feel forced. I don't think it sounds more insulting than I want. I just don't think Shia LaBeouf was the right actor for that part. Yeah. I don't know who I would have picked, and he certainly was in the right place for his career. Spielberg liked him at the time.
He was high off of Transformers.
Yeah, bunches of stuff. He didn't feel like the right person, and that has nothing to do with all the wacky personal stuff that came later. He just didn't feel like the right type of actor. I don't know who I would have picked.
Sure, yeah,
but,
I don't know.
I probably would have hoped to get somebody a little bit more, like Harrison Ford, a little bit more laconic.
So get the kid who played Han in Solo.
There you go. Get Alden. I like that too. I'm the one. I'm the one who likes Solo. Yes.
Oh man, you're the guy.
I'm the one.
I like it too. I enjoy Mike.
That's probably the only Star Wars movie I've not seen more than once, and
it's good.
It's rough.
Is it?
Listen, they had to pay the guy like acting classes. like they got him on set and they're like, wow, you suck, like we're gonna get you an acting coach, you're gonna go take some acting classes and then we'll try this again, like we've already committed to you, so we're stuck. But like
the stuff I mean, having it overstuffed is one of those things where we're going to do a trilogy. Well, what if maybe a trilogy won't happen, so pick the stuff you got to get in there. Okay, we're going to get all this stuff in there, but they still left some stuff for future episodes. You know what I mean? The Lando thing, I think would have filled out. But you can't plan on a trilogy. You can't expect.
True.
So,
and I mean, but pick and choose, in my opinion, right? Like they cram in the Kessel Run, they cram in Lando, they cram in Chewie. Like he's building all these relationships within a 2-hour movie that we're supposed to believe and care about. And to me, if you do too much, that's kind of when things start to flop. And I get your perspective. I get what you're saying, where like, this might be the only one we got, so let's do it, right? But then you get like 2010's Green Lantern movie, where it could have been a good movie if they didn't. All right, Sinestro's in there. That like everyone knows Green Lantern. If you do a movie, the first movie it's got to be a buddy cop movie with him and Sinestro, right? You don't have Sinestro turn heel in the first movie. You don't put Parallax in the first damn movie. Like it was just way too much.
Well, my before I go back to the point I was going to have on Solo, the irritation I had with Green Lantern was they front loaded with information that didn't matter as much. The switch, Sinestro turning heel was one thing, but you didn't need to know that the Green Lantern Corps was how many there were, or it was at the center of the universe. That's information from the comics that's there that doesn't really do any good for the audience. So, Space Cop, there's all you need.
Yeah. Yeah.
But for Solo, I think the two biggest problems, the two things that hurt it, outside of anything that people didn't like with the story, which, that's personal, that's subjective, that's fine. First is that, man, there's a lot of speculation. What are they going to do in the movie? What are they going to have? What do I want them to have? And then the speculation turns into expectation, and they're not going to hit the expectations for a lot of the audience. Too much Lando, not enough Lando. I don't like how there were too many characters, not enough characters. They did this, but they didn't do this. Across the entire audience, you're gonna miss more than you hit with something like this. The other thing was, Last Jedi was still in theaters. They were going to put it out at Christmas time, but Mary Poppins had the date, so they put it in May, and it could have used just a little bit more work, and it could have used just a little bit more time away from The Last Jedi. And I think many people didn't go because there are two in the theater now. That's too much. That's too much Star Wars. I'll just wait. And it's I mean, like I said, those are things that I think objectively hurt it. Subjectively, I liked it because it had the stuff in Star Wars that I like most. and that made me happy. The scoundrels and stuff. It didn't, there was the Force and Jedi and all that stuff was sidelined a little bit, which it was fresh air for me. So I mean, it was as close to a Star Wars indie movie as we'll get at this point. So I liked it for that, and I get I can't name any friends. Excuse me, I shouldn't say that. I can't name too many friends who love that movie. I can name a whole lot of friends that hate it. Yeah. And fair enough, but I had fun with it, and
See, lucky enough, I didn't go into it with any wants or hopes. Like, this is what I want to see, or this is what I want them to do. But I think I did go in thinking, okay, this is a Star Wars story, and off like the high of Rogue One, which how good Rogue One was. So maybe that killed it for me. I do think that they did the casting really well. Like Donald Glover as a young Lando was perfect casting, and even the guy that they got to play Han was a good casting too. I
think if they would have either A, give it another 6 months, or B, had not swapped out directors in the middle of the movie. I would have been curious to see how it turned out if they had just left Lord and Miller. So I mean that's all. I mean that's coulda, woulda, shoulda. Who knows? You can only guess. But yeah.
True.
Did not expect to be talking about Han Solo this much.
Look,
but
it's Harrison Ford.
It's Harrison Ford.
Get ready, Eric. We're going to be talking about Air Force One next, okay?
All right. Gary Oldman. No.
And then The Fugitive.
No.
That's it.
We talk about Yellowstone, where he was like, I don't know why they named it that.
Mm-hmm.
I guess it takes place in this year.
Yeah.
Like, I think that was the
moving on. We'll go with Shrinking, where he's eats the entire bowl of weed gummies.
That's a really good show.
It is a really good show. I loved him in it. I love seeing him do comedy because he has a very good comic timing.
It's that dry sense of humor that he has. It's just perfect. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right.
No,
which explains Indiana Jones.
Yeah. I know I said earlier that he had considered him a comedy, and I know film nerd friends that absolutely do not consider it a comedy. But look at Last Crusade when they go to the Scottish castle, and with the broad Scottish accent that he's giving to try to talk his way in. How dare he? You know what I mean? That's some funny stuff, man. It had the theater roaring.
Yeah.
So, and I think I think it's also how you classify things. Like Harrison Ford is in most movies, outside of those ones that Mike just mentioned, he has that wit that he brings to the character
Mm-hmm.
in a way where you're like, history's super boring, but then you have this quick-witted guy with a whip. I could not put those words together because it would have sounded horrible.
Quick-witted guy with a whip.
Yeah. I paused purposely. Anyway, so but that's it. Is like you have him with the whip, and then you got him like with his blasters and Star Wars, and like that's kind of, and all of it at the same, roughly like for the same like 15 years ish ballpark, is basically him just doing Star Wars and Indiana Jones, and basically it, you know, you could tell that he was bringing himself into it. So you know because of that quick wit that he put and made it the characters more likable, which is why I think everybody's super pissed at Lucas for changing who shot first. Is he gonna recut or he doesn't get away from the Nazis? Who knows? I mean, not now, but
not now.
No, there's gonna be the Lucas cut where he chose poorly.
Yes. Yeah, I don't think it's weird. I don't get the sense that he has the same urge to tinker with the Indiana Jones stuff. I think that he has seemed to want to push Star Wars more to a thing that he has in his mind, even when, it's good enough, or we really love this, but it's not, I had a better idea this morning and I want to change it. But I don't think he ever had that. I think the indie stuff is left. There are rough patches, and I think they add to the charm. And I think I don't think he or Spielberg would dare to mess with them.
Yeah, and that's saying that's one of the things that kills me about Star Wars, that he's messed with it so much. Like there's that charm to like certain things, and even like I know it's a little different than the charm in Indiana Jones, because it's like it's not CG graphics heavy, but when he did the special editions, you can't get or see the before the special editions now Star Wars, but there's the charm in those old models and those practical effects that he just no one wants to see freaking Jabba the Hutt in episode 4. Okay, no one. like it's just
I can watch them.
Yeah, well, it's there's and there you go. They're both pulp, but Star Wars is a futuristic pulp, so I think that kind of lends itself to more polishing up and adding and more bells and more whistles and stuff, and who knows what he wanted to do when he originally made them, and maybe that's the thing that he's reaching for. But he, you age, you get new ideas, and this is not a defense. I would lose that argument against the fans, because nobody's going to drop their opinion on that one. Not the fans and not George Lucas. So but just we'll stand aside. But I do like to try to suss out why changes get made. I mean, after the fact, even before whatever. Just why creative decisions are made, and the Star Wars stuff has fascinated me, because I mean it's interesting that he would make these choices and continue to make the choices. I mean, he made the choices before they went on to Disney Plus. He made another choice, and he had what was it, the McClunky that he threw in there. You didn't see did you see the McClunky choice? There was another change made to Star Wars before it went on to Disney Plus a couple years ago.
Episode 4?
Yeah.
No, what was that?
He had Greedo say something before Han shot him. Or before he shot at Han, and then Han shot him. Yeah, and it was McClunky.
Okay.
So there you go. Yeah, he changed it. So yeah, he gave him a little bit of warning, and then he pulled the gun, and then Han shot him. So I mean, yeah, there you go. But yeah, so he was still tinkering with it up to a couple years ago.
Listen, Han could shoot first and still be a good guy. All right,
I know.
You don't have to do that.
Yep. It is fascinating, though. I'm curious as to. I really would love to know when he made the decision and why. maybe it's written down. Maybe there's an interview somewhere where he explained it. I'm very curious. Maybe Filoni knows. Who knows?
I enjoy that type of. I always enjoy going back and trying to figure out why the changes were done. Like like why Marion didn't come over into Last Crusade. Temple of Doom would have been weird.
Yeah, Temple of Doom was a prequel. That didn't. Yeah, that didn't fly.
Which was always weird to begin with. Like we give you one, or we give you the first one, and then we give you the half, and then we give you two, and realizing that older, I was like
2, 1, 3.
Lucas, did you just like doing things in a weird order? Did you just throw a dart at a board to figure out what order you did things in? Like,
have you real quick? Have you guys seen the movie The Other Guys?
Yes, the Will Ferrell and
yes. When they arrest David Ershaw near the end, and they're like, he's like, all right, I'll tell you everything. I think it's best if we start in the middle, and then I'll work towards the end. But occasionally, I'll flash back to the beginning, interlacing parts to give you the full story. Like that's.
They had they removed it. They just removed it from Disney Plus, but they had the Young Indiana Jones Adventures. Did you guys see those? Yeah. I
have not. No.
They changed. They made a weird change to those, in that they re-edited them, because when it came out in the 90s, it started out with a bookend scene with old Indiana Jones, and he looks like John Ford. He's got the white suit. He's got a patch eye under the glasses. He's just an old bearded man on a bench telling stories to people. I remember the time I met Dracula.
Exactly.
That kind of stuff. And each episode was like there's a cliffhanger, and then it was resolved in the next episode. But what they did was they went back and they re-edited them all into movies.
Huh. So
they put the 2 or 3 parters together. So now it's a series of movies, and those bookend scenes were lost. They're not available anywhere, but they still have. I was able to. I finally got to see it because I didn't catch it when it was originally on. But they had one episode. The only bookend scene that was left starred Harrison Ford. And they had him, going after a thing and getting caught, and then remembering how he played jazz at one point when he played the saxophone. He learned how to play the saxophone and did the whole thing. And I was just like, this is not what I expected at all. He's in a shack, it's freezing weather outside. He finds this old horn. He starts telling the guy a story about that time he played in a jazz band. It was interesting. But yeah, I mean, it's Lucas with his, I have plans. With Star Wars, it was nine episodes, and I didn't believe that for a minute. Back, in the 80s, Indiana Jones was supposed to be 25 chapters.
Holy crap!
Yeah. And that they counted every little thing, but I think they got close when you count the TV show and the movies and maybe some of the novels. They got pretty close. Yeah.
Interesting. Lucas, I'll give Lucas all the credit, because let's be clear, whatever ridiculousness goes on in that man's brain, he's given us enough to love for.
Oh yeah.
Till we die.
I mean, it's kind of ridiculous and unfair that one guy but created Star Wars and Indiana Jones. That's not fair.
I just go into the tangent on his one other sort of franchise, Willow. It had 2 sequels written as novels. George Lucas provided the story, and Chris Claremont wrote them.
Oh shit.
Yeah, maybe it was three novels, but yeah. So they did sequels to kind of fill out the story of the little baby as she grew up.
Interesting.
And they are impossible. They are out of print and impossible to get hold of for a decent amount of money. So yeah. I've been curious ever since I found out. The first 2 I think are you can find them, but then the third one is just like, I'm not paying $100 for.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm not that curious, guys.
And then,
But
there was the TV show that got
which
one
bombed,
season.
right?
they yanked it and took a tax write down. Yeah.
So
it was gone before I had a chance to check it out.
Same here.
So there's like
That was
6
on my
months, and
list.
it was already the tax write off. So like, and you'll never find it. Wow.
Did you have you seen the new game, the Indiana Jones game?
No.
Okay.
No. Is it like a legit like console PC game?
It is. It's an Xbox exclusive.
Okay.
And it's first person.
Interesting.
Yeah, I saw the trailer, and that's the weirdest part is that it's first person. I don't know if I like that. I'd
almost expect to be third person.
Yeah. But I mean, it's just you got the hands up and the whip and the whole. There are puzzles to solve. There's a whole nine, and I don't have an Xbox, so I'm just like, well, crap.
Yeah.
I would love to. I would love to play the story.
Well, it'll be an exclusive for a minute. Like nothing at this point in time stays exclusive to like anything.
Well, I mean, it's
very rarely.
Yeah, the development studio I think is one that Microsoft owns.
Oh, okay.
So this one is probably. I mean, you're not going to see Halo on PlayStation, and you might not see Indie either. So.
Listen, we just need someone to take the old Castlevania video game and reskin it for.
Yeah. Put a hat on Simon. We're all set. There you get Indie after the vampires like you wanted. That's what it is.
There you go.
That's it.
We figured this out. Low cost too. Low cost.
Yeah, just give me a Fedora Sprite. It's perfect.
I played the Lego Indiana Jones game.
They had those Super Nintendo ones too that were ridiculously hard.
Every game on the Nintendo based off
the Super Nintendo. Yeah, they were. Yeah, the Star Wars ones, the Indiana Jones ones. I couldn't do them. I couldn't. If
you want to hate your life, go play Super Star Wars.
Yeah. I got those. There was a couple years ago. They had like a $20 cheap emulator at Walmart or Target or something that had a ridiculous amount of those old games. Had the Disney ones and had the Star Wars. I was like, hey, the Star Wars ones. I wonder if I hate these. Threw the thing across the room within 20 minutes. I was so frustrated with it. And it has a save state, so I could have just gone back and done the thing again, but no, I just got too angry.
You're gonna have to be angry and just cook it.
Plus, like the Star Wars games, like, listen, I just want to flip around with a damn lightsaber. All right,
that's it. That's all we want.
That's what Super Star Wars was. Super
Star Wars not the first. No, Super Return of the Jedi gave you like that more than Super Star Wars. Super Star Wars is a lot of like blasters, and then you had
I guess
like fly around and do like flying missions and stuff. And it's like,
you know what? The flying mission is actually what got me. Like, I think my buddy and I it was like 3:34 in the morning, and we were like, all right, we're going to pause this. We'll come back to you in a few hours when we wake up. We woke up and it had reset itself, and so we had to start over. And we just kind of looked at each other like, nope.
Yep. It's right up there with that Ninja Turtles Nintendo game.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God.
It just breeds nightmares or Battletoads or what have you. So anyway, back to Indy before I get sympathy, frustration, sort of veins popping out on my head.
Oh,
no, but no, there was in the back of my head as I'm babbling about video games. I was just like, I have a point. I forgot. I've got to try to remember where was I going before I went off on video games, and then just the tangent. I knew this was going to happen.
That's par for the course. It's all right.
Yeah.
If he comes back up, just interrupt us, and
there it is. Yes,
that time.
Yeah.
Right.
So you said Last Crusade was the first one that you saw.
Yes.
Which one is your favorite?
It's weird. I think the one that I have the most sentimentality for, because I watched it so much, is Temple of Doom. I don't think that's the best. It'd be hard to say it was my favorite. I think Last Crusade might have to be my favorite. I have the most sentimentality for Temple of Doom, and I think Raiders is probably just the objective best of that original trilogy. And then with Crystal Skull and Dial of Destiny, it was, I like this scene, I hate this scene, I love this scene, and it was just kind of sprinkled. Those ones I go scene by scene with, and on balance I liked them both, but it was I didn't go through them as complete movies. It was not, I didn't enjoy the entirety, but I don't regret watching them, and I will still throw them in from time to time. But yeah, no.
Absolutely.
So Last Crusade is probably my favorite, and sentimental with Temple of Doom, and best is Raiders. Yeah, and
Interesting.
I sat down one day and tried to think what about those movies was the thing that I connected to, and part of that was the humor because I love. I love humor being used well in stories, and dry humor is like Harrison is,
Unexpected
like you
humor
said,
too.
is he's very good at, is
So
connected
good.
with, but also it was just the weariness of it. He was just like, nothing is surprising. Oh, look, it's a guy with a sword. Bang. Oh, look, it's the Ark of the Covenant. Don't look. You know what I mean? He's just everything is old hat to Indiana Jones, and
Yeah.
he keeps losing throughout the entirety of the movies. He just gets beaten down, and he sighs, and he gets frustrated and goes after it. And he grumbles and he complains, and I loved that um he was not invincible. He was not that kind of hero. He was not the uh shining paragon that everything went his way. It was very,
Yeah.
It was
connected to my love of Spider-Man in that way, I think.
Very, yeah,
right.
very
He
humanized.
yes, yeah, he sighs and swears under his breath and continues on, and I think that was the stuff that connected to it, and it was they were smart, they were different. I really liked that. It was, a lot of pretenders in the 80s for that kind of a thing. A lot of things tried to, what if we goose the supernatural, what if we goose the adventure. You got weird things, weird tangents,
Mm.
like a Firewalker or the Golden Child,
Yeah.
or what was the other one that was that kind of Alan
Like,
Quartermain.
okay.
The first Alan Quartermain movie even went so far as to have John Rhys Davis as um, a not white man. He had the fez, but he was a villain in this one, so it was okay. But yeah, I just it was so influential and continues to be. They
For
you'll see
sure.
pastiches in comics and in movies to this day, video games. I mean, uh, Tomb Raider
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
sprung from that,
Well,
Uncharted, and dozens of others. So yeah,
I actually just saw that movie the other day, and it was pretty
Uncharted.
good. Yeah.
It it the only thing I didn't like about Uncharted, it's a weird thing to not like, because I really enjoyed the movie. It was the exact type of flavor, in the Indiana Jones wheelhouse that I like. It was that Tom Holland cannot sound older than 20. He
That's
yeah.
cannot, he's
exactly
not
correct.
physically capable of sounding any older. And I know he's older than 20, but I want to hear an adult voice come out of the, for
Let
that
me.
role. And it's dub him, somebody, just for this role. He can
Yeah,
still sound like himself for Spider-Man, but he's not, he just doesn't. I don't know if he will ever sound like an adult.
and that's
Yeah.
actually a pretty spot on. The entire time I watched that movie, which was a good movie, like it was like
Mhm.
I wasn't expecting, a super fantastic movie that's gonna win 75 awards, right? I was
What do you mean? It's got
expecting
Mark Wahlberg in it. Come on.
that. Look, we've had that conversation a number of times. I love Mark Wahlberg as an actor, not so much as a rapper, but as an actor in his family and as a guy, I think he's actually a pretty good person. But ultimately, that's kind of the way it was. Like I went into that movie thinking this is gonna be kind of campy and stuff like that, but you said it pretty perfectly. I love Tom Holland as well, but I don't think he has the capability of sounding deeper like this.
Yeah,
Uh, but the most of the time throughout that movie, I was like, this dude is very athletic.
yeah.
Is did they just did they just tell Spider-Man not to use his Spidey suit and it's actually just
Dude,
Spider-Man
his
4?
his audition for Spider Man, he was doing like backflips and stuff.
hmm
Right. Like
Yeah,
he
no.
is he is actually, athletic
I
and
think he's like
can
a trained
do
gymnast or something.
Mm-hmm. He's good, and the set pieces on that were exactly what I was hoping for. I
Exactly.
just, I needed, even if he had dropped it a little bit and sounded closer to Nolan North, I think it would have, it probably would have felt a little bit better. But
I did like Nolan North popping up though.
yes, it was. Hey, the same thing happened to me.
Exactly.
No. Back to Indy, back to Temple of Doom. I think that that opening scene, the Club Obi-Wan. Out of the three, I think that's my favorite opening. My favorite opening scene. Trying to get the antidote, running around, the chaos of the musical number of Willie, still singing, and it was the white the Rick Blaine from Casablanca suit, the whole nine. That was it was such a great opening, and I liked the rest of the movie a lot. Like I said, sentimental, my favorite, but I don't think anything in the rest of Temple of Doom lived up to that opening. And this is me loving, like really enjoying, Temple of Doom, but it was just like that Club Obi-Wan scene was a different movie than Temple of Doom, and I really, like I said, I like Temple of Doom. I think I wanted to see the rest of the vibe that started in Club Obi-Wan. I'm going to get so many comments about this on the internet at some point. It's just like, how dare you, sir? That's an opinion, but yeah, but I mean, other than that, I mean, it's still, I loved Short Round.
Yeah.
It does have one of the best lines in the trilogy, the "We are going to die." The line reading on that is fantastic. And I mean, it's got a lot of memorable imagery with Kalima and all that fun. So, running away and then running back and all, that trope that Spielberg and Lucas both love.
Well, I think it was also, like we talked about earlier, it's, you literally see this dude go freaky, for the time, especially, straight up just reach into a dude's heart or chest or pull out his heart. Which is, as an 8 or 9-year-old, you're like, what am I watching? But it
segues into horror for a second, really dark.
Yeah.
Look, maybe that's the reason I actually really enjoy horror movies. I don't know.
Don't forget face melting Nazis.
That face melting Nazis.
Yeah,
I think it was. This was either the first PG-13 or it was the straw that broke the camel's back and got PG-13 created. It was one of the two. It was this and Gremlins were both like, this is not really a PG movie, but we can't give it an R.
Yeah.
So it was those two. I'm not sure. I'm kind of curious, and I can't even go look at my box set because they might have re-rated it since.
Oh jeez.
But yeah, it was it led to the PG-13s, that tweener rating.
It's true.
Yeah.
I'm looking at it right now. I have it up on my other screen. I did look it up. And you're right. It was one of the cruxes in creating the PG-13, which actually makes way more sense because it's not a PG movie by most means of the words today. In fact, I think
it's definitely not an R. Yeah.
Right, but I think it could definitely push the R rating by today's standards.
Yeah.
Right, it's argumentative, right? But I think it has. You could see it pushing that envelope. It's questioning, swearing aside, obviously, because it's not really.
I'm trying to imagine what an R-rated Indiana Jones adventure would look like at this point.
It's too. It's
I think
an adventure movie.
I think they would just goose the horror stuff, but
I think it looks like a first-person shooter game.
Yeah, there you.
That's probably what it is.
Indiana Jones in Wolfenstein 3D.
Indy ditches the whip and he just dual wields some guns.
That's all it is.
Or it's a flaming whip.
Yeah, it's Indiana Jones, Wolfenstein 3D, and he had the bad food. He got the food poisoning. That's what it is. He's got to get through the castle to get to the bathroom. I don't suppose you saw the there was on a podcast a couple of weeks ago. It was Reese Davis was on the Inside of You podcast and talked about that nightmare on Raiders of the Lost Ark with the food poisoning.
No.
He lost 20 pounds overnight.
Oh, jeez, I'm crow.
Yeah. He said everybody was so sick except for Spielberg, who didn't eat. He had his food shipped over, but yeah, everybody was in real bad shape from food poisoning, and 20 pounds in a night just freaked me out. He said it would have done more damage to him, but he was a big guy, so it was just like on the line of what he was able to recover from. And
that's insane.
It was just like the older I get, the more stories like that kind of freak me out. Oh God, his kidneys, the poor man. But
I feel you.
Yeah. It's as opposed to, boy, that was just a funny anecdote to get to the really cool scene of him shooting the swordsman.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
It's not like when you're young and you don't care. You're invincible.
Yeah.
You go outside and jump off a rock, and you're I'll be fine. You break a leg, it'll heal. Now that you're an adult, you're like, ugh, I'm gonna be like tied up for months.
Food poisoning. Walk it off. Come on, man.
Like going back, and you think about it, like you're looking at Indiana Jones, and you're like, aren't you supposed to be older? Like, I feel like you shouldn't be able to do half this stuff.
Mm-hmm. Segue on over to Last Crusade, and seeing that one first, now watching it again, I was just like, now I see why everybody was laughing at the Ark of the Covenant reference. It's just like, he says Ark of the Covenant. How do you know? Oh, pretty sure. It's just like, as a kid, I'm like, I don't get it. What's this about?
I mean, to be fair, as kids, we don't get half the jokes.
Well, and of course, I hadn't seen Raiders, so it makes it a little harder. But I knew that the crowd sure laughed hard, But yes, all these tiny little things. I don't know. I have lost my train of thought again. This is a terrible conversation. I'm so sorry, guys.
It's fantastic. I don't know what you're talking about.
Listen. You came in saying like, oh, I was gonna rewatch all the movies, so I had like a lot of stuff to talk about, and you're pulling out these facts out of your butt that like I'm like, holy shit! Like
I didn't know that.
I'm reaching, man. I'm reaching. Doing what I can.
This is an educational thing. If you bust out a whip, I say we just go find the Ark right now.
Let's do it. Find that Holy Grail. Come on, man. That's what we need. Sean Connery, get him up in here. I mean, that would be a trick.
Nope.
But
you already said it. We're doing it. We'll go get Hellboy. He'll talk to him and carry him around in a backpack.
That's it. There's another fella that would make a fantastic Indiana Jones movie as Guillermo del Toro. I think he would go weird. I would like to see what he would have done with the story of Temple of Doom, with room to interpret it a different way. Because I think that one particularly would lend itself to his weirdness.
You're not wrong.
I
think that's definitely. I think I could see that because
there are bugs. There's a guy with a skull on his head. There are crocodiles.
In that movie that you're just kind of like right. And when they're eating the monkey brains.
Yeah.
As a kid, I was like, "What are they doing, Mom? What?" And she's like, in other countries, they eat different kinds of foods. I was like, they what? They eat monkey brain? Like, this is like, I was so intrigued. I was like, why are they eating this snake? What are they doing? Why are they doing this? And my mom, who hates snakes, by the way, very had to pause the movie to explain it to me just so that she could stop watching the snakes. And then kind of go from there.
Yeah, no, the snakes are terrifying. Even as a kid, watching Temple of Doom, I saw the monkey brain scene, and I'm like, George, Steven, what are you guys going through, man? That's messed up. You didn't need to go there. They could have been a little dish. They didn't need to be in the monkey's head.
No,
That's
that's
with the fur and all. That's
It's
a
cracking a coconut open to drink
yeah
the water. You just
yeah.
gotta
You
crack
guys
the monkey skull open and just get a spoon. You're good.
you, you guys got some things to work out. I don't know if this is the place to do it, but
Some movies are like in loving memory of whatever.
mm.
In this one, it just says "fuck you" and then their ex-wife's names.
I'm actually, and that's what got the PG-13. Their one use of the word.
Yeah,
Um,
who's to
no,
tell off their ex-wives? We got one F-bomb. How are we gonna do this? I got it.
oh, it's because, but I'm laughing through because what's going in my head is it's going to be less funny once I say it. Is I'm just is the image of Ford looking through the script. He goes, Jesus, George, you only got me for a couple of movies, and this is what you want to do. I all the rumors that started around abouts of last year when Ke Huy Quan won the Oscar about them offering him a short round spinoff, like a Disney Plus kind of a thing. And I shouldn't say rumors; it was more like wishful thinking and speculation. But talking about Temple of Doom, I kind of and enjoying Everything Everywhere All at Once as much as I did. I would have liked to have seen a short round spinoff. It's something
Yeah,
that
that's pretty cool.
could have worked. It would have been something different, and it could have it could have continued it without having to bring Harrison into it.
Yeah,
Because
people's
who's
lives go
just
on.
yeah, it's a thing that would have been fun to see, and I kind of wonder if that's something that I might be willing to explore in the future, or excuse me, excuse me, other things, other spin-offs of the series.
Yeah, no, that'd be
You know,
interesting. But
yeah,
seriously, like talk about comeback king.
Mhm. Yeah.
Jesus
Holy
Christ!
cow! Yeah, no.
Just appears in the '80s and then comes back
Well,
like
I mean, he did. He was a stunt choreographer. He worked on X-Men, if I remember right.
oh
Yeah, as
okay. Yeah,
and
he just wasn't in front of the screen
yeah,
yeah.
for a
was
long period
doing
of time.
bunches of stuff, and then yeah, I think Everything Everywhere was the first thing that he was back in front of the screen on in a lot of years. And then he did Loki, and now I'm kind of hoping that he, you know,
Does more.
does some other stuff because he's such a fun guy to watch. So yeah, I would.
He's so likable. That's
Yeah.
he seems like the nicest dude in the whole world,
Yeah.
and even his characters they're so
Hmm.
likable.
They
Yeah.
are.
It's and like I said, give it to me. You could tempt Harrison back for a pilot of a series
or
of
a
short
couple
round.
guest spots of being
Yeah.
like kind of pointing him in a direction or something like that, like in a bar
Yeah.
or something like that.
Yeah,
You
something like that. Just the India. It's the '60s. It's the same time period of Dial of Destiny. You bring in short round. Give me that. I'll take that. I'll take anything more that I can get out of this franchise.
Yeah.
right? Like that is so that it's funny that you say that because before Crystal Skull came out, that was actually one of the things I was like, Star Wars kept coming back, like came back,
Hmm.
and like everybody was talking about like it was, you know, bringing things back and trying to figure out what to do with more things because I think that was right around the time that everybody realized maybe if we just reboot stuff, like
Hmm.
it'll just make us some more money. We won't have to come up with an original idea. Which some of it has been good, some of it has not. But
Yeah.
I Indiana Jones was one of those things that I was always kind of like, I wonder, can I have
Hmm.
more of this? Like Young Indiana Jones actually it was a it was a show that was actually pretty good for what it was.
Hmm.
Um, right? Like and
Yeah.
it didn't it was kind of it didn't fill that gap, but it was a
Hmm.
nice little like taste of like, oh, like they still think about this property. Maybe they'll do something.
It was it
Um,
was it was weird. Young Indiana Jones. The weirdest part of that was they didn't see, and I understand the difference between a younger version of the character and the adult version of the character, um, but River Phoenix in Last Crusade felt more like the character that Harrison Ford played than we got in Young Indiana Jones. He didn't seem like the same character. He didn't seem written the same way. He didn't seem performed the same way. And I'm blanking on the name of the actor that played the teen / young adult version in Young Indiana Jones.
John Patrick Flannery.
Yes, I was going to say it was Powder, but no. There's a deep cut.
I thought you were going
but
to go with the Boondock Saint. But...
Boondocks. I could have gone Boondock Saints. I absolutely could have, but then I just would have gone on a Willem Dafoe tangent. No, Flannery did not feel like he was playing the same human being that River Phoenix was playing, which was would turn into Harrison Ford. And that was the thing that felt weird to me about Young Indiana Jones. Even though I enjoyed more of the episodes than I didn't, but it felt that was a weird thing, and I don't know where the mandate came from for that.
I think you're right though, because I think like something is kind of always it just didn't. It felt like adjacent.
Mm-hmm.
And that's probably it. Like I haven't watched Young Indiana Jones since the TV show ended, because before the internet, it was like, well, the TV show's gone forever now.
Yep.
And it's kind of how we worked.
Mm-hmm.
That's true.
Unless somebody recorded it on a VHS tape, or then torrenting became a thing. So maybe it popped up, but I wasn't paying attention for it because it was like that was all right. I'm cool with it though. Like, not maybe I'll watch it again, but it's always felt like that right there. But yeah, I personally have wanted more Indiana Jones since before Crystal Skull. Then we got Crystal Skull, and I was happy with it. I was like, it's all right. Like, it's a movie. Like, Shia LaBeouf is. He didn't. They took a shot. He wasn't horrible, but he wasn't the person to be like, thanks, Harrison, and then just keep running the race.
Yeah. This is a thing, I think, in The Last Crusade now, and then taking it back to Solo. Same writers between Solo and Last Crusade, as if I remember correctly. And the opening act, the River Phoenix stuff, basically did everything Solo did. We're going to show you everything about how Indiana. Here's the snakes. Here's the whip. Here's the hat. And but they did it all in 20 minutes, half an hour, and gave the origin to everything. I thought that was and it was kind of funny that he circled back around to Han Solo and tried to pull the same trick.
I mean.
But it's see, you can tell he's a nerd because nerds really want to explain stuff. Maybe it doesn't need to be explained. Maybe it shouldn't need to be explained. Maybe it shouldn't be explained at all. Never mind need, but they want to.
Right.
And they want to get that thing out there. It's a compulsion, and then when those nerds become writers, that's what happens. But
we get Dave Filoni. Oh,
yes, and then you get Dave Filoni. 100%, you get Dave Filoni. Yeah,
no,
and
Dave's doing an amazing job.
Oh no, this is not a dig. I am not digging on Filoni. I'm not digging on that. No, nobody. I've done the same thing. It's just like, well, hey, you know what? This is never explained. I can make a story out of this. Perfect. And the most egregious one came from comics. It was John Byrne. Yes, John Byrne. I mean, you'd think I would be talking about Roy Thomas explaining things that happened in the golden age of comics, but no, John Byrne had to explain why in the first Spider-Man story there was a miscolor on one panel, and then there was another panel where Ditko drew the eyes in the mask, and he explained those two things. It was just the printer put in a wrong color, but he wrote a whole story to explain. And I mean, so like I said, it's God love it. It's.
What was his explanation?
I honestly could not tell you. I just remember doing it. I'm like, why would you? That's, because at this point, that explanation is almost 30 years ago. So
quite a while.
It's my memory is and I haven't read it since that point. My memory is not as good as I would like, despite pulling out weird facts, factoids that connected to the Indiana Jones. But I couldn't even remember the Kasdan, Lawrence Kasdan. I feel so much better now. You have no idea.
No, I do. I know exactly how you feel because that's how it is. It's like that brain itch that you're just like, it's gonna bother me.
It's just 10 minutes after the podcast, I would have been, oh, there it is. Yeah. I didn't even look into IMDb. I would have seemed so much smarter if I would have had that off the top of my head. But yes, no. So I'm hoping for. I have a couple. About a month ago, I found at a Barnes and Noble of all places, I found some of the old Indiana Jones tie-in novels from 2008 that I hadn't read. Yeah, so it's just like I'm amazed that these are still on the stands. Usually they pulp those after the run of promotion is over. So I grabbed those to sit down and read and see if they're entertaining or worthwhile or anything. At this point, it's about the only place I'm going to get some more without buying an Xbox. If anybody wants to send me an Xbox, feel free. I can. I would
P.O.
love
box.
to. P.O. box, yeah, exactly. Just put a smiley face on it, and I'll know.
You said so that there were there's always when you see people together with the short round series, right?
Yeah. With
the love that Harrison Ford and him had at the award show, you could see. That is so many years in the making. That's what, 40 years? God, who knows if we keep talking about Indiana Jones and Short Round getting his own series, which I think
will it in existence,
right?
I know exactly one person who works at Lucasfilm, and I'm always trying to ask, are they going to do anything more? Anything at all? And she's like, it's just like, I know she can't say anything, so it's just teasing at this point. But it's just like, well, there's the game. I know about the game. Give me hope.
Yeah, right.
The thing that I saw at the corner of my eye was a thing I picked up. I did a signing for Free Comic Book Day, and I was going through the back issues, and I saw something that I didn't know existed.
Fantastic.
It's not an adaptation, and I flipped through it, and the weirdest thing about it is the voice they gave Indiana Jones is he's got the same dialect as the Thing. All the G's are dropped. All the he's not written in any way as educated. It was really weird. It it was just an oddest thing. I don't know. I think they were like, well, I guess we could have another Star Wars hit here, and no, I don't think it went. I don't think it went any further than like a year and a half. But
did they slip up and accidentally write him saying it's clobbering time?
I mean, would it surprise me? No, not in this issue. But it was just all of his dialogue was just like stereotypical New York, Come on, guys! At least write him from Jersey.
When I picture Indiana Jones, it's stereotypical New York.
New York, yep. As opposed to where's Ford from? Is he California? I think
so.
Yeah. Well, there you go. Instead of stereotypical California, laid back carpenter. That's what we want. But
man, that's actually a really good way to describe him.
He's from Chicago.
Is he from Chicago? Well, there we go. The last bit of the Carpenter thing went to the last weird bit. I read Gene Wilder's autobiography a few years ago, and he talked about doing a movie with Harrison Ford, and Ford was still doing carpentry at the time, and he had bought from a boys' school, from like a religious school, a boarding school. A bunch of lumber, because they tore up the floors. He's like, that's good lumber. He bought it. And this comes from Wilder talking about when he stayed there, he was like beaten and abused by other kids. He's like, and so I kind of wondered if he bought one of the floors where I got beaten up on. Like, this is a really weird story, and I'm never going to be able to forget it. But yes, so Indiana Jones bought the floorboards where Willy Wonka was beaten. That's how we're going to frame that. That'll
make a good movie.
That's That's a weird movie.
that
Timothée
is a weird movie.
Chalamet is. I don't know how he'd feel about that.
Yeah, well, get Alden Ehrenreich back and get Timothy Chalamet and see what happens. We
We're
have
good.
Indiana saving. Okay,
He's not
I don't
Indiana.
think I can approve the weirdness of that image. So,
All right, we're good.
yes. But
Out
yeah.
of curiosity, have you been on the Indiana Jones ride at Disney World?
Oh, so many times. I was just there last month, and that was
Sorry,
absolutely.
Disneyland.
Yes,
Apologies.
Disneyland. No, yeah, I knew what you meant. I've been on that so many times now. Absolutely. I went to Disneyland last month, and that's the first thing I go on the ride for because it breaks down 17 times an hour.
Oh, jeez.
So, it's just like,
Good
we're
call.
there. Okay, it's time. The fast pass thing, whatever it's called. We get there, and then it's like, and it's down.
Yeah.
You gotta rush there and hope that it's still going. But it's a fantastic ride. Have you been on it?
I have never been to Disneyland. I've only
Ah,
been to Disney World, where
this.
all they have is the stage show, which is actually a really good show
Mhm,
and really entertaining. Downside is it's an amphitheater,
mhm,
so all you have are these massive fans above you attempting to cool you down.
mhm. No, this is it is one of my favorite rides in the park. It's just it's mostly a dark ride. There's steep drops and stuff. It's a car that is just
Yeah.
janking up, down, left, sideways. But it's just a lot of fun. They got the boulder coming at you. The only one weird
Oh,
part about it is they could have they have Indiana Jones appear as an animatronic in a couple of scenes. They could have gotten somebody who sounded like Harrison Ford to voice, and that's all I'm saying. He sounds nothing like,
sounds like
and it
Tom
would
Holland.
he sounds he sounds a little bit closer to Tom Hall. No, it would be hilarious to me now if I found out that he did do the voice and it was just some kind of garbled audio that nobody's re-recording. But it
Because it was
is
recorded in the 80s.
yeah, exactly. No, it's one of my favorite rides, and I can't wait to go back and ride it again. Mostly
Yeah.
because that means I'm in California as opposed to northern Minnesota.
There you go.
I mean,
Yeah.
there's a big difference between the two. Have you been to Disney World?
Twice. Once when I was a kid, and then once a couple of years ago at the worst possible time to go to Disney World, which was June.
Oh,
No, that sounds horrible.
I melted. I had to
I'm
buy
sure
3 shirts over the course of the 2 hours I was there.
you're only there for 2 hours.
I was there for see. I went with a friend who worked there, so I got it was just kind of like a hey, we'll go ride a couple rides because I get in free. I'm like, all
yeah,
right, cool, that's
nice.
fine, yeah.
Oh, there you
It's
go.
I went last September, and I was miserable.
yeah. Oh, was it weather miserable or was it crowds miserable or was it
Weather,
both? Oh, weather,
weather
yeah.
Weather.
miserable. Oh, it was so hot and humid. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, we're from New Hampshire, so we get humidity up here, but like that was. Oh, step outside and you hit a wall. I'm like, oh my god, can I just go back
Yeah.
inside?
Yeah,
Uh,
no, it's we it was that was exactly that was exactly what I was dealing with in it's right about this time of year. So like June 18th, something like that.
Yeah.
I was hit in the face with it. And there's a lot Minnesota gets really bad in the summer with humidity, but this was
it's something
concentrated because it
different.
was hotter. It was so
It's,
much
Right.
hotter.
yeah.
It
Yeah.
is.
And
It
I
is
did
its
not.
own. It's its own thing. Like I've
Mhm,
gone at least half a dozen times in September, and
mhm,
every time it's like I step outside, like Mike said, you're hit. But it does. It is. Like it's good. I enjoy it. And Indiana Jones is like this weird small section, but they
mhm,
always have some of the cooler stuff
mhm,
that's there because I don't know. It's always this weird. It's like a small space and Hollywood Studios or MGM, depending on how old you are and whether you decide to upgrade your terminology or not.
mhm,
Uh, it was smaller before. Now it's massive,
mhm.
and it always intrigued me. They were like, they put Indiana Jones right next to Star Wars. I feel like that's exactly like that was on purpose.
I
Um,
I I wonder why the Indiana Jones ride or a version didn't go over to Florida because they got the space.
right,
Hmm.
and I've actually wondered that a number of times too. And like we talked about earlier, I haven't actually taken the time to go research it, because every time I wonder it, I'm in Disney World, which was, I'm not researching that, right? Like,
why not? You have hours to stand in line.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
I haven't been for years, so I never stood in hours of lines. Now, even after paying money, you probably have to. But so I would have time to do a full on like dissertation now. But back then it was like 10-15 minutes in line for a ride. So, I zipped around plenty of times, but
If only
yeah.
they've made a few changes since then.
Oh yeah. I'm a massive Disney fan, so I've
Mm-hmm.
stayed up on it enough to be agitated at the whole process,
Mm-hmm.
to the point where I'm just like, so let me get this straight. I pay an astronomical amount of money for a ticket now.
Mm-hmm.
And then on top of that, to not have to wait in a standby line, I have to pay you money to be able to make reservations.
Yeah, isn't that ridiculous?
Potentially, but I could pay you more money to cut those people as well.
Yeah.
Like,
but then
right.
you get the reservation, you still got an hour wait in line.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah,
Whereas,
and now they still have a couple of rides that there is no reservation unless you pay extra. So you get
yeah,
the
Ridiculous.
$30 for your fast pass lightning lane, I guess. But if you want to go on the big Star Wars, the Rise of Resistance, then it's another $25 on top.
That's
yeah.
So it's, or the Spider-Man one at the California Adventure, which they're very cool rides, but yeah, I have so many other things that I could spend that $25 on at the park.
Yeah, I'm still my big thing was I wanted to go on the Tron ride,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm so glad I didn't have to pay extra for that. But because that ride was it's like 60 seconds long, it's so quick.
Oh, geez, yeah.
And I think they dropped the ball on it too, because it was cool, because when you're waiting in line and you're sitting in line and like you go in there and it's like you're entering the grid, right? Everything's
Mm-hmm.
all black with the neon and the lights, and it's a super cool experience. And they got Flynn's life-size light cycle in there, and all
Mm-hmm.
that stuff. And then you go on the ride and you're strapped in the light cycle, and then it shoots you off and you like go outside. And it's like, all right, well, if you're gonna do this, make it a VR, coaster or something, or I
Yeah,
felt like that should have been all indoors with a bunch of neon and a bunch of lights and stuff like that. So
it's
it was cool, but
Sweet.
it's some weird choices. Yeah. The
hmm.
last time I was there, the thing that I did spend the $30 on, actually, I did get some mouse ears to hang on my wall that are Indiana Jones. So they're
Oh, nice.
got the little hat, got the little whip. It
That's
is the
cool.
absolute goofiest thing that I could have bought. But yeah,
Aside from an actual goofy hat.
aside from an actual goofy hat, you know what? If I would have seen one, that might have been on the list. But no, it's yeah. There's not a lot of indie merch there at the park, so I was kind of
Yeah.
surprised to see it. And there's those shirts like you got there, the Raiders shirts. There's the ears. There's some faux hats like the one up there, not the expensive ones. And then there's a $400 jacket, and that's I mean, hey, great, that's a nice leather jacket, but I'm 90-degree heat, maybe not the best selling
Yeah.
point for a nice heavy leather jacket.
In
Just buy a whip instead and use it to fan yourself.
That's it. Get the things going on there. Just anything. The elephant to spray me down with water, something to cool me down in the long ride.
They probably didn't have it at the park, but they had the short-lived toy line that Hasbro put out recently.
Yeah,
that went right to clearance.
I saw them at a Toys R Us in the Mall of America. They were they were not on clearance there, but they only had Professor Indiana Jones. They had Sean Connery and they had Marion, and that's all they had left.
Yeah. No
I don't know,
idea.
man. But no, a few years ago I got my brother a little oh gosh, it was more than a few years ago. I think it was back in 2009. I got him the Sean Connery figure. It was named after Sean Connery, so he's got to have a little Sean Connery toy. That's
cool.
the kind of clever gifting that we do in my family. The real next level stuff. But
I mean, look, one of my kids is named after Deadpool. So for his first birthday, he 100% got a giant stuffed Deadpool, right? Like,
sure.
right? And one of my older sons, his name is Thor. So for Christmas last year, he got the Lego Thor's hammer. And my 6-month-old now, he's named after Max Goof, so I'm bequeathing him my signed Max Goof
Nice.
picture from Jason Marsden over. So I'm with you. Like it's fine. It's completely okay to do that.
The sad thing is you say Deadpool's name, Wade Wilson, and then you say Thor, and I'm thinking Vikings. Wade Wilson, quarterback for the Minnesota Vikings. and Thor, hey, Norse god. Yeah, that's how my brain works. I always look for interesting merch and stuff, and I never see it. I think, and there've been a couple. I got a couple of like pins. I collect pins when I go places because they take up less space than anything else. So yeah, I got the Eye of Ra, Staff of Ra. I've got
nice.
that. Got that, and but I mean, there's just there's just never anything, and it always kind of bums me out a little bit. I kind of I get sore at Star Wars. Why you got to be the popular one? Why? Just because you're more versatile, you've got more characters, you've got more things that you can do. Yes, just give me. You know what? Just I saw a meme yesterday that had Yoda in a cowboy hat. Now I kind of want to see that. I want to see Yoda as Indiana Jones. With looking for relics. That's the series I want to see. Give it to me, Filoni.
Here plays the short round.
That's it. You know what? Bring him in too. Put him in some robes.
Turns out he's
Golly Yoda. The whole time. Figure out a way to get him a Star Wars Mets hat, and just him and Yoda going around the universe. That's it. That's the Star Wars that I want to see. And bring Frank Oz back.
Is that the buddy cop? It's just Yoda.
That's Yoda in short round with lightsabers.
Awesome.
Going through caves, running from monsters, grabbing stuff. That is the Star Wars that I need to see.
That would actually be fantastic. An Indiana Jones style show or movie.
The best part of the meme, though, was because it was a cowboy's hat, Yoda's just looking, it says, Tarnation, what in? I couldn't stop laughing. It was so stupid, but so perfect, and it just made my entire day. So yes. Anyways,
I really would like to see more Indiana Jones. Now, like the more we talk about it, the more I'm like, and the more I realize, like it's like subconsciously just always been like one of my like it's a really fantastic property that I've loved, and I always I've weirdly veered towards it. Like before Pops were a thing, there were these toys called Mighty Mugs.
Oh no, yeah, I remember. I have. They
brought them back at one point.
They did. They changed it. Like they weren't the same. But the first one I had was Mola Ram.
Oh wow! I have a feeling the last Funko Pop will be a Mighty Mug. That's how it ends.
It's going to be the pop of a Mighty Mug.
A pop of a Mighty Mug, yes. A Funko Pop of a Mighty Mug. That's the last one, and they will have achieved, toy nirvana.
Fantastic. It'll come full circle, and that's where we are.
The thing with more Indiana Jones, they have said their current position is that only Harrison Ford is Indiana Jones, and he's done, so we're done. But there had been rumors that they were going to do a prequel, or they were going to do, scenes with a younger actor to try and milk the franchise a little bit. And they threw out a bunch of names, and all of those were debunked. But I remember there was... the only one I can remember now is Chris Pratt, and that was after Jurassic World.
Yeah, I think I heard that.
Yep, after Jurassic World came out, and the first Jurassic World came out, they started going on. Well, he could be Indy. Bradley Cooper might have been one, but I'm not 100% sure on that. And I don't remember.
It's a prequel. They're way too old right now.
Well, they are now, but they weren't at the time. I mean, well, they were a little younger at the time. It was what was that? That was oh God, almost 10 years ago. Jurassic World was almost 10 years ago. Holy cow!
Jeez, yeah.
That was 2015,
Was
I
it
think.
more than
Even
that?
then, he was too old.
Yeah, fair enough. That's well, I mean,
Harrison Ford was pretty fresh faced, and
yeah,
Raiders.
yeah, and what he was like 40 at that, or 30 something, 40. I'm trying to think of how old he
Yeah,
was,
I'm
but
not sure.
it just,
Well,
but
'cause
yeah,
he's 80s now, so yeah, probably 40.
yeah, he would have been,
early
he's
40s, late 30s.
early 40s, yeah. So, but they've thrown out names, but I don't know who could do it. So go animated. That's what they need to do. Go animated. That's it.
Yes.
That's the solution. Anybody could. They could get a good impressionist. They could get Ford to sit down for. Here, I want you to read these things over a weekend. Pretend you're 40.
I'd watch an indie cartoon for sure.
You know.
I
So
also
why not?
would.
Why not?
After we're all still on the high of X-Men 97, I'll definitely take an indie cartoon.
Yeah, there's plenty you
But
can
do
do
they
with
go old indie, or do they try to do like young Indiana Jones again, or do they just do straight up like
They
it's
do. It's
not-
the 1930s. He's 40 years old and in his prime, and
I agree.
and
Indie Prime.
that's what they Indie Prime, and they can do whatever they want with it, and throw him all over, adapt a novel into a TV series, whatever.
Speaking of cartoons, I thought I heard a rumor that they're going to be doing a Ghostbusters cartoon.
Yes. In fact, they just announced that they had a cartoon coming.
Okay, so I did see that.
A cartoon, and they had been working when I was still working on the comics franchise, and they were still telling me things. I know that they were
That's
working
one way
on
to get in there.
an animated movie, but I don't know if that's still going. This cartoon series that they're doing, I think, is a separate project than what they were developing with the movie.
Sure.
And I don't know anything about it. I just saw that that they were about to announce, specifically what was going on. So I don't know if it's connected to the afterlife stuff or something else. Yeah.
Which
It
would
might
be
be.
good because that movie was great.
Yeah. So, we'll.
I mean,
we'll
think
see
about
what
it.
they plan.
If they transition Frozen Empire into an animated series, that would work because Frozen Empire, all the ghosts are loose now. They're all out of the containment unit. So
Yep.
what do we go into another movie with Paul Rudd and all them, and they just ignore that, or they just start doing random ghost hunts? I think the cartoon would be a good way to explain that, tie it into the whole canon. The cartoon is them going after the ghosts that escaped, and that'd be pretty cool.
That's absolutely. They could be what they're doing. They could do another franchise. They could do something connected to the lore that has nothing to do with the movies. I mean, they could do something that is a ghost centric. From the point of view of the ghosts, they could do. There's a lot of ways that they could do in animation that would work better in animation. The ghost one, I think, would probably be the most animation forward, but who knows? I don't know.
Listen to this guy. I think he's a writer or something. Coming up with good ideas.
Oh man, if only. But we'll see. Meanwhile, I gotta like I said, twist my friend's arm and see if I can't get into that the Indiana Jones dope, or even I'll take a Star Wars, I guess, if I can get some inside information, man. Pitch it early, like that's going to happen.
We need more indie. We need less Star Wars.
Yep. They're professionals. They're not going to tell me anything. That's fair. But if they do decide to compromise their principles, I hope they do it for me.
Damn NDAs.
They're terrifying. You got to watch out for those. I read very clearly through a contract I signed a while back that had a significant NDA section, and I'm like, yeah, that's really scary. I don't want to pay all that money, so I'm going to never say anything ever again.
Even after the time has passed.
Even after it's come out, man. I'm did you work on this? No. It's got your name on it. I got it from the bookstore.
Nope.
No.
I can't say anything. But
I can either confirm.
It's got your picture. I can't say anything. I'll sign it. Goodbye.
You just scream and run away.
Yeah, exactly. freak out and flee. It's because I think I see a flicker of shadow out the corner of my eye. Is that an NDA assassin? I don't know. I can't be sure.
Oh man, that's where you just pull out your gun and shoot him. That's how it works.
He screams and runs away like Anna Faris in Scary Movie.
Does he just pull out his whip and then like swing away?
Oh, that'd be fantastic.
There it is.
In all of the conventions, you just pull out your whip and you're like, it's time for me to go. And just swing away.
Oh yes, make sure that I'm stationed near a window. Perfect.
What if Indiana Jones isn't an actual name or person, but it's a faction, kind of like Jedi, and every Jedi has a lightsaber, every Indy has a whip.
There it is. Just start. If you go into archaeology, you're just issued a whip. I'm in the library all the time, yes, but what if somebody reaches for a book you're thinking about going for?
It's like,
what if somebody is at your computer station? You know?
No, it's like that episode of Family Guy where Peter's obsessed with Roadhouse, so he starts kicking everything. And he's driving he's driving his car, like kicking the steering wheel. You're sitting in the library at the whip, and you're like, I need that book. It's like,
yeah. I remember when I was a kid, my dad got into the Indiana Jones look. We were living in Arizona at the time, and he got into the Indiana Jones look, and he got all duded up, and he had the whole nine, and he went out joyriding in the desert. And you come back, this is not comfortable at all. It was not made for heat. The movies lied.
No, it's just that Harrison Ford is so cool that it didn't affect him. He's
I didn't know how to tell Dad that.
Harrison Ford is just cooler than you, Dad.
That's what it is. He just he was able to repel the heat by sheer force of will.
It was the open shirt. That's why it didn't work for your dad.
Right?
Have the shirt all the way open.
The shirt open, yeah.
Stomach.
Maybe he should have taken the jacket off. I don't know. Maybe that could have. But yes, no. This is a conversation that I never expected Indiana Jones to lead me down. But it's like archaeology. You dig, and weird stuff comes out of the ground. You know what I mean? That is the spirit of Indiana Jones. That's what we've got going on here.
And weird stuff comes out of you.
That's 100%. That's how I make my money. I say weird things, people pay me.
People draw them, and then they pay you.
Well, no, they pay me first, and then the person draws them, and then they pay the person who draws them.
Oh, okay. All right.
Luckily, I don't have to wait for somebody to draw it to get paid.
Yeah, that's fair.
Oh, yeah. Anyhow.
Then you're just like, I wrote 40 issues. Pay me.
Yes, please. A lump sum.
Contracted for 13, so that's weird.
Oh goodness, but yeah, no, I had tried to one day. A friend of mine suggested after I tried to get Indiana Jones license picked up at a publisher, and it didn't work out.
Wait, you did that?
I did try. I mean, I made but it didn't go anywhere. They just said no, we're not doing that right now.
Right now.
Right. Well, I mean, it was before. This was again. It was about 10 years ago, and there was no Indiana Jones project on the horizon, and they don't always license stuff when there's nothing active. For just because. I mean, that's a judgment call that every company makes. But I mean, sometimes if there's no active movie, TV show, cartoon, video game, whatever, they don't want to have licensed product out, and they will say no. So I mean, I pitched it, and I got a no. But the friend said, "Well, why don't you come up with a pastiche?" And honestly, I don't. People have done it. People still do it. Like I said, Uncharted and Tomb Raider are two great examples of things that blew up on their own after being inspired. But I want to play in the sandbox that was established. I don't want to, I mean, if you set something up and it's too close to what you love, the first thing that you're going to hear is, well, that's just a ripoff. Why didn't you just do the thing? But they told me no. But this is a ripoff because I wanted to do the thing and couldn't. And it's just I just it felt like it would be better to wait and hope that they decided to license the book somewhere at some time. Of course, I'd have to fight off a whole lot of folks who would want to work on it just as much as I do, but you know.
At this point, we have comics of literally everything. Everything is coming back. I could see them testing the waters with it. Because I don't know who owns the licensing right now for the comics, but
nobody's doing comics. They haven't licensed it out, so it's just Lucasfilm saying no. Yeah.
I thought Dark Horse still had the licensing for the.
Not for indie. Not for a long time. No.
Oh.
Yeah. I the last time I saw indie stuff was maybe around the time of Crystal Skull, but I couldn't even swear to that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there hasn't been any comics done since. There's been novels. There've been prose novels, and there's been board games, and there has been that's about it. No
That's
comics.
how you know you made it if you have a Monopoly version of your franchise.
That's it. Monopoly or whatever.
Indianapoly.
But yes, I like I said, I poke my head in and ask the folks who know and can get it done if it can ever happen. And so far it's been all no's, but I mean, and I'm electing to wait because it's just the pastiche just doesn't sound as much fun. I'd like to play with everything that was set up and the characters and the specific events of the stories that we're seeing. Cause yeah, I mean, that would be fun. So we'll see, maybe one day.
I mean, that's the thing is like, everything comes back around. And like I said earlier, the more people talk about it, the more people actually show that they want it. Disney of all companies is definitely going to be like, oh, people want that. All right, we'll give you a few million. See what you can do. Right?
Yeah.
Like, sure, it doesn't always work out. Please see Willow, like we talked about earlier. That was unfortunate. But
yeah.
They
please
saw the window.
Marvel fatigue and Star Wars
they saw the window. They went
Mm-hmm.
for it. Sometimes it doesn't work out, right? And that's okay. They learned a lesson. So, but at the same time, Indiana Jones was one of those weird properties that when Disney was taking over the ownership of Lucasfilms, everybody was like, "Oh, you guys got Star Wars now." And everybody's like, "Okay," but there are a lot of people who were like, "Okay, but also Indiana Jones," and they're like, "Wait, what?" Like you had to explain to a lot of not aware people. I'm gonna say that Indiana Jones was also part of the package that went with Star Wars.
Oh yeah,
was it just
the whole
Star
thing?
Wars? It was also
I know. I learned
Indiana
recently a thing that I didn't know that I learned recently was when Raiders was set to go into production, they signed a deal for 5 movies. And they did the 3, and then it was just like, well, come on, let's do something else. And nobody came up with a script that everybody liked because Ford had to agree, and he was very busy. He was doing a bunch of movies. Spielberg had to agree. He was doing a bunch of movies. Lucas wasn't doing anything for a while, but then he got into the weeds on the prequel trilogy, and that became his focus. I know that M. Night Shyamalan worked on one. I know that Frank Darabont worked on one, a draft. David Koepp, they did. The only one that I remember reading about was Atlantis. So, Indiana Jones going to Atlantis, discovering Atlantis. And I don't know.
That would have been cool.
Yeah, I don't know who wrote that one. Could have been all of them working on the idea at different times.
Sure.
But it just, it was one of those things where everybody wanted to have equal say and weigh in on it equally, and they got all busy and time went on, and I'm amazed that they got 5 movies done. So
took a while, but
it took almost 50 years, but they pulled it off. So anyhow, I think I really will. let's end it here. We've dropped a factoid, just because I feel guilty keeping you up any later at this point. It is my Minnesota nature. It's just like, man, let's get this man some sleep.
You've had some fantastic factoids.
Yeah, like
people who are like,
I am so relieved that I was able to think of something. I was just like, I love it, but
more than something. Wow.
You know, it's like, can I come up with anything interesting that they don't already know?
Oh no.
So yeah, I appreciate it, and thank you for humoring me and putting up with me on this. All this, yeah.
No, thank you.
Thank you for entertaining us.
Well,
yeah. You did fantastic.
Fair enough. Well, it's I always worry if I'm going to be enough of a value add to any podcast I'm on. So there we go.
Plenty of value. Plenty of value. Before you step off, though, tell everybody what you got going on, where they can find you, all that fun stuff.
Sure. Well, my name is Erik Burnham, and that is where you can find me. Most socials. I keep it very simple. My website, however, is different because I wasn't able to get my name right away. So it is burnhammania.com, a portmanteau. And there is and that is that. Working currently on Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Saturday Morning Adventures, which is an ongoing series set in the original 1987 cartoon. So a lot of puns, a lot of silly jokes. Also working on something in the mainline IDW Turtles verse, which is Untold Destiny of the Foot Clan, which should be ending. The last issue should be out. I just wrapped up the last notes today. Should be out in July sometime. And that's, about as opposite tone as you can get from the Saturday Morning Adventures. But yeah, no, that's it that I'm working on right now that I can mention or talk about. Everything else is either way too far out or NDA'd up. Yep, and we've established how I feel about those NDAs and the ninjas lurking in the shadows.
Oh, I see what you did there.
Mm-hmm.
They're gonna get you on foot anyway.
No, you're climbing down from the Paramountain, man.
No,
you
your
guys
stuff
are killing
that
me.
you've been putting out has been great. So keep up the good work, man.
All right, appreciate it.